Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Trey Ball. We got a couple of guests here with us. I got Fluke Man. I got Ryan Fluker here with me.
What's going on, everybody?
I got John Harris here with me.
What it do, baby?
We'll be doing some ad-libs.
Keeping it fresh, you know what I'm saying? Keeping it funky.
So today we're gonna have what we like to call the way too early awards. Right? MVP, most improved player, sixth man, defensive player of the year. We're gonna be discussing those awards today. And if we got time, we're probably gonna, discuss who's going to be the Eastern Conference, Western Conference champions, who's gonna take it all. But we're gonna save that to the end. So for me, I think I'll go first because I feel like Ryan's still thinking. He's still got a lot of thinking to do. So right off the bat,
He's still researching.
My most improved player, I gotta go with Jeremy Grant. Now, he's playing in Detroit, so nobody is going to pay attention to him at all. But we're looking at somebody who last year for the Denver Nuggets averaged 12 points, 1 assist, 4 rebounds. He was a very valuable piece to them. They like to play a lot of long, lengthy guys on the court at the same time. Joker, Jeremy Grant, Michael Porter Jr., Bobo got some minutes last year, so he was just another guy last year, just another guy on the court. This year he comes to Detroit, he putting up 25 a night, 6 to 7 rebounds. We're seeing him, go on tears in quarters where he scores maybe 15 in a row by himself. I mean, he's really.
Hold up. Josh, I gotta pause you. All right, so I'm sitting here since I don't follow sports like that, I'm just gonna be following stats, seeing if your opinions and your views of these players actually stand up.
Don't come on my show disrespecting me.
Look. So I'm searching Jeremy in every form of the name I can think of how to spell it, but it's not pulling up. Like how does this man spell his name?
Jerami.
I guarantee you ain't tried
that. All right. There he is. Okay.
One of the variations you didn't try.
Jeremy. Okay.
Jeremy.
Okay.
Jeremiah.
Yeah, so he had 24.8 points a game, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. He's playing good basketball for them, but again, it's Detroit. I don't mean to keep disrespecting that team in front of my mans, but
I mean they 2-9 for a reason.
It is what it is, So he's improved.
Do not disrespect the Motor City Light.
Hey, listen.
Come on now.
It is what it is at this point. Jeremy Grant, I was wrong about him. All right, I'll admit I was wrong about him. I wasn't wrong about Mason Plumlee, and I wasn't wrong about Blake Griffin, and whoever else they decided to sign this year. So Jeremy Grant is a bright spot. Now, for my defensive player of the year,
who we got?
For my defensive player of the year, I got Anthony Davis. It's very early in the season. I don't think they're really playing any teams to where, you're just going to have to dominate them defensively. I think they're mostly blowing teams out offensively, winning by 20 points, 30 points, stuff like that. But he's probably the most versatile defender in the NBA right now. I mean, he can guard the center position one-on-one. He can guard the forward position, the guard positions. He can switch out to guys. He can also be a help defender, whether it's strong side or weak side help. He's very good at reading players attacking the basket to make the timely block. I think it was just last night he had a block on Zion Williamson, where he just came up from behind him and threw it off the glass. There's situations where Zion would most likely end up going through somebody for contact and getting the layup. I seen Anthony Davis, he took a little bit of a drop step off, let Zion kind of breezed by him with his shoulder and came on the other side for the block. So it's just little things like that. I feel like Anthony Davis is the best defender in the league. I don't think it's really, there's going to be some guys. One of my favorite defenders to watch, just watching the point guard position, Lonzo Ball. I don't know if anybody's really watched him, but I love watching him play defense. He's one of the guys that's going to pick you up almost 94 feet and have no problem staying in front of people. He can move his feet well. He's very aggressive when he, switching out on somebody on defense. I like the way he plays the game. Also, he has a very high IQ, but, when I'm talking about overall, Anthony Davis is my defensive player of the year. For my sixth man, I have Jordan Clarkson. Now, Jordan Clarkson he's a trigger happy guard. You know, we've known that about him his whole career. Very trigger happy. He's in Utah now. We've seen him in LA. I think it was Kobe's last season in the league, second to last season or his last season in the league, where Jordan Clarkson was their leading scorer.
Okay, when you say he's trigger happy, like
if you pass him the ball, you're probably not getting it back. It's just not gonna happen.
Reminds me when Allen Iverson came to Detroit back in the day.
How you feel about that, Ryan?
Let's just continue on with the list.
Okay. All right. So Jordan Clarkson, trigger happy. He's going to get up a lot of points, but I think he's going to be a key in helping them have an extra score on the floor with Donovan Mitchell. Right now, he's putting up 17, 5, and he's a point guard and shooting guard that averages two assists for his career. So you already know what you're getting from him. You're getting a score. So as a sixth man, that's pretty much the criteria nowadays. You just got to be able to score a lot of points off the bench. Carmelo, he's going to be someone lingering around because his minutes are going to be mostly from the bench. But when he gets more comfortable, I feel like he's going to be hovering around that 12 to 15 points. So, I mean, a Hall of Famer coming off the bench, he's going to be in the conversation a little bit. I expect Lou to pick it up. But, you know, the Way Too Early Awards is telling me that Jordan Clarkson is the current sixth man of the year. Now, MVP. MVP, I have not in any particular order until I say who my MVP is. But right now, I have Anthony Davis in the conversation. Steph is in the conversation. You know, he had a couple breakout games. Damian Lillard is going to be in the conversation later on this year. Obviously, LeBron and Giannis, those two guys are obvious. With James Harden going to Brooklyn, I don't know if Kevin Durant and Kyrie and James, I don't know if any three of them are going to be necessarily in that conversation because of how much firepower they have. But my overall MVP out the gate, I got Luka Doncic as my MVP.
Doncic.
Yeah.
Right.
Luka Doncic.
Of course.
Gotta put the
You don't know what that is?
I don't know what this is, bro.
All right. Listen.
Don't follow these.
Listen.
Gotta put
All right. Listen.
on there.
He is
It's an accent.
He's 6'8". He reminds a lot of people of Larry Bird, but in my opinion, he is a mixture of Larry Bird and some of Steve Nash.
That is definitely a high compliment.
I think he's a very good mixture of those two guys. Right now, he's averaging right out the gate. He's averaging 27.5 points a game.
Oh,
9.5 rebounds and 8.8 assists.
Homie is balling.
He is balling, and he'll have to work on his 3-point shooting. At this point, I mean, in the past he's been pretty average. You know, shooting around 32, 33%. Right now he's shooting at 26, but that's right out of the gate for the season, 10 games in. So I'm not really worried about that. But I think he's playing at a very elite level, not only for his age, but if you're looking at the landscape of the league, 28, 10, and 9. There's only one or two other people that we normally see those numbers from, and that's LeBron James. So he's putting up LeBron-like numbers right now.
LeBron James.
I hate you. So he's putting up LeBron-like numbers right now. And for his career, he's at 25, 8.6, 7.4 each game. So, I mean, this is what we have to expect from him for the rest of his career. And I think this is his year to capture that MVP award.
Right on.
So what's your list? You know, most improved player. Do you have any most improved and defensive player? You got any opinions on that right now?
So I do want to, for most improved player, I'll start there. I'm going to give you a head nod for Jeremy Grant. I think that and he's improved in the sense that I think he's just finally had a true opportunity to shine. I don't think he's really had that opportunity up until now. I think, you know, when he was with OKC, you know, it was like he was more so in the background. Even with Denver, I don't really think he truly had that spot to be able to step up and say like, hey, I am truly a starting caliber player, and I can really show through. And so
not
being
just a jag, just
right.
another guy.
And so, you know, not to disrespect the Detroit Pistons because I love my hometown team, but you know,
they don't love you.
But
they don't love you.
The reality is
that is an unhealthy relationship.
They're not the greatest, and so when you're on a team that really isn't the greatest, you really have that opportunity to be able to come in and really be able to shine. And so I think Jeremy Grant is, you know, I think he always had this kind of potential. It's just he needed the right opportunity to be able to show up and actually show people what he can do. And so in that sense, he is going to be my pick for most improved. For defensive player of the year, I know I'm going to catch some heat for this pick, but I've just been really impressed on what I've seen.
Just say stop. Say it.
Stop.
Say
all right.
it. Say
I'm building up some suspense.
Ryan, just say it.
We're reaching the climax. I've been very impressed with what I've seen over the last several games defensively. On the defensive side of the ball.
He just say defensive player. Okay.
From Andrew Wiggins.
Now
wait. Hold on.
We're talking about the same Andrew Wiggins.
Hold on.
That is a defensive liability.
Stop.
That is an offensive liability.
Stop.
That is a playing time liability. Like, if I give this man minutes, he actually has to play on the court.
Stop. Now, listen. Right, now, Andrew Wiggins, he has a reputation that, I'm not gonna lie, it's very difficult to overcome some of that chatter of, work ethic and is he really a star? They had high expectations for him coming into the league, number 1 draft pick. But I think on the Warriors, over the last several games, Warriors are missing Klay Thompson. That's a huge defensive hole that the Warriors don't have with Klay being gone. I think that Andrew has been one of the guys to be able to sort of step into some of that role defensively for the Warriors.
Okay, so I'm scrolling through stat list for defensive leaders right now. I don't see my man's in the rebounds. I don't see him in the blocks. Tell me about this input.
Listen,
what's the input?
It's all about the intangibles.
Oh.
It's all about the intangibles. Not everything is just captured via stats. Sometimes I think a defensive player, you got to have the mindset, you got to have the effort that you put forth day in and day out. Now, has he underperformed on the offensive side of the ball? I think he's capable of more offensively, but seeing everything that he's been doing for the Warriors defensively and how he's stepped up to the plate and assuming some of that defensive responsibility that Klay Thompson assumed, literally guarding stars, each game. I've seen that from Andrew Wiggins. I've been very impressed. Now, whether or not that level of consistency is going to continue throughout the season, that remains to be seen. But I think it is worth acknowledging the defensive caliber of player that he's become for the Golden State Warriors. So that's my 6th man. That's my defensive player of the year. For MVP.
Wait, hold on, bro. Bro, wait a minute. Hold on. Bro. What the heck?
What you going on about, Josh?
Bro, I'm still scrolling. So I'm looking at a list of defensive player ratings for a minimum of 200 minutes. Because remember, we're 10 games in, and you have to play. Let's say you average 10 minutes, 20 minutes a game. I'm still scrolling. I still haven't hit Andrew Wiggins.
Listen, this is just
50s.
This is just disrespectful.
60s.
This is just
wow. 70s.
Wow.
But you saying the time that he is on the court, he shined.
Bro, I'm in the hundreds now.
I'm in the hundreds, bro. Listen, we all know that these lists are not perfect. Okay? These lists are not perfect.
Bro, he's 150th in the defensive rating. Get out of here. Next.
These lists are not
Next.
perfect.
Bro.
They are created by flawed human beings with their own biases.
It's not by a human being.
Tell me
This is mathematical.
bias. I was about to say
This is mathematical. I'm looking at a mathematical list.
Listen,
Right.
nothing is completely
150.
Nothing is completely
150.
objective. Nothing is completely objective. I can get philosophical, but I'm choosing not to.
So let's just say this, okay?
Nothing's
Let's just say
completely-
this. Let's just say
Listen,
this.
let's
all right?
move on. I've got my most improved player
Okay, go
is
ahead.
Jeremy Grant. My defensive player right now, I'm impressed defensively with Andrew Wiggins. Like I said, if it's going to continue, I hope so. I certainly hope so. But I can't see into the future. I don't know that.
All right.
But I do want to acknowledge the defensive effort. Okay.
effort.
Sixth man of the year. Now, this is really been changed up with the most recent trades that I'm sure everybody has heard about. I was all on board with Karis LeVert as sixth man of the year.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Offensively, I think, to Josh's point, a six man, you want them to literally come off the bench and immediately be able to impact the game.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I think Karis LeVert did that. Offensively, he averaged, 18 and a half points last season. He had some explosions, this season versus Memphis. So he can definitely come in, get you 20 points off the bench.
Yeah.
And I think that is essentially the definition of the sixth man. He can come in, make an immediate impact. Again, not sure how he's going to be used with the trade, but we'll see. For MVP, I want to give 2 shout outs for this award. I couldn't really pick between the two because I think both are doing a lot of what we expected, but even in certain respects to a higher degree. So number one, I want to give a shout out to Nikola Jokic, the Joker. He is the only player right now averaging a triple-double, 11 rebounds, 10 assists. He's averaging a little over 24 points a game. Literally doing a little bit of everything. I'm going to be curious to see again whether he can sustain it throughout the course of the entire season. I know the Nuggets have, by many people's opinions, underperformed a bit thus far into the season, given what their record is. But I think it's just a little bit of a rough patch. I was a fan of Denver's last season when they made it to the Western Conference Final. But Nikola Jokic averaging a triple-double, doing something that we've really never seen from a big man in terms of being a true passing center. That's something that we've really never seen before in the league, and so he's bringing something different to the table, and it's going to be interesting to see, like I said, if he can maintain that. And then my second acknowledgement for MVP is also Steph Curry. Steph Curry is the type of player that, if you guys have been following the Warriors these first several games, he's had some explosions. He exploded for 62 not too long ago, but teams literally have to create their entire defensive strategy around how can we keep this man under 20 points. I
think he had a pretty bad game the other night. He was like 2 for 16 against Toronto, but they had at least 3 guys in his vicinity every time he even crossed half court.
That's how you.
He's seeing
he's
he's seeing double teams minimum, sometimes sometimes more than that.
Yeah.
And so again, I think if we had Clay, I think as another elite shooter, offensive threat, I think that would be making things substantially easier.
If they had Clay, they would be somewhere around 9-4, 8-5. They would be somewhere around there, simply because, again, you have an extra distraction to keep 4 people from guarding him every time he crosses half court. But yeah, I see your MVP nod.
Yeah,
like I said, he was on my list too. He's going to be in a conversation at some point.
I think so. I mean, he's got more of a burden on him offensively, compared to before when they did have Clay healthy. But yeah, he's just seeing so many different defensive maneuvers and players and all of that. And so the fact that he's still averaging what he's averaging in spite of being essentially one of the sole focuses of the defense, I think that speaks to his skill as a player, his skill as a shooter.
Yeah. So who's your MVP though? Is it Steph?
I want to acknowledge both. I have not a solid MVP person.
Okay.
I want to give the nod to both the Joker and to Steph.
Can I pose a question to you both?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, so we got the leader in points right now is Bradley Beal.
So Bradley Beal plays in Washington. My opinion about Bradley Beal is the same opinion I have about Zach LaVine. All right. They're great offensive scorers. They're 3-level scorers. And 3-level scoring is you can hit the knock down out the outside shot. Okay.
Right.
They're elite at that. Both of them had several games of 6+, 7+, threes a game. I think Zach LaVine has 2 or 3 already this year of 7 or more. You can score in the mid-range. That means a pull-up jumper, free throw line area, maybe 17 to 20 footer. Then you can get to the basket. Pick and roll, off the dribble, isolation, whatever. You can get anywhere you want on the court and score. But if you look at the flip side of the ball, they can't stop the other best player from doing that.
So defensively is
where they're lacking. So if I'm watching LeBron, I know LeBron can get 30+ on anybody,
right,
any given night. And he can also stop if need be. If it gets to a situation, he can stop the other team's best player from doing that.
Gotcha.
Kawhi can do that. Kevin Durant turned himself into being able to do that his last year in OKC and beyond. He can do that. Paul George, when it's not the playoffs, he can do that. I've seen Kobe, D Wade, when it was like Kobe, D Wade, LeBron, 1, 2, 3 in the NBA, and Chris Paul was in that mix too. They were the elite, but it was other guys that were scoring 25 to 30, just like them. The difference was they can lock down their position on the opposite side of the ball. That's why I feel like Bradley Beal and Zach LaVine, if they're not on the team with an elite defender, so if they don't have somebody that can stop the other team from scoring, if they don't have someone like PJ Tucker, like James Harden had, that's why the Rockets were ultimately as good as they were for so long. They had James Harden scoring 60, but they had other guys that could lock down their position.
Right.
So I think that's the problem that you're seeing with Bradley Beal not getting his recognition. Zach LaVine, same thing, not getting his recognition. They're putting up a lot of great scoring numbers, but they're just not playing defense on the other side of the ball at an elite level. They'll never be in that conversation until they could do that.
Understood.
So if Bradley was doing that, he would be your pick for MVP.
No, because again, he can. The reason why I said being able to lock down the position is because ultimately the team is going to take on the characteristics and the personality of their leader or the coach. All right, their coach doesn't have a strong enough, iron will that's going to transform the identity of that team. So in that case, you would need the star player to do it.
Gotcha.
Okay, so neither one of them are doing that. So like you look at Miami. Yes, their star player, Jimmy Butler, has that in him. That tenacity, like, hey, you will defend, all right? But you have the coach who does that and who's built that culture over the past several years in the locker room. But you have a GM and president of basketball operations been doing that for 20 to 25 years. You look at the Lakers back in the day, you had Kobe, then you had Phil Jackson, LeBron, Mike Brown at one point. Then you had LeBron and Eric Spoelstra. Then, so on and so forth. You had players that carried their identity and coaches that carried their identity. So now the team is going to reflect that.
Wow.
They don't have that in Washington. And they for sure don't have that in Chicago. I mean, at one point, a couple years ago, Zach LaVine led a mutiny against their coach. Yeah.
What'd that look like?
Oh, it was horrible.
Like mid-game?
No, like refused to play, refused to practice a couple days.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, so the team is gonna go whether the star goes or the front office and coaching leadership goes. So they don't reflect that, and that's just the way it goes with those two teams.
Wow.
So Brad Beal, he could be a scoring champ. He can win a scoring championship. That's not gonna mean anything, because I don't know when the last time the leader in points per game and the overall points leader actually won the championship and finals MVP. Like I don't remember the last time that happened.
Yeah, 'cause you got to be talented in all areas. I mean, that's what's gonna get your team ahead. You're gonna need more than just straight points.
Yeah, but well, I mean, look at James Harden, for example. James Harden has turned into one of the best perimeter scorers ever, right? But when it comes down to it, and his team wasn't getting stops and they weren't playing great defense, he wasn't a guy that you could say, all right, James, defensively, I need you to turn it up just like you do on the other end. He's not that guy. So if he doesn't play great defense and his offensive game is struggling and the team's defense is struggling, the Rockets were screwed every single time. And we're going to get into that. We're going to shoot another episode in just a minute where we talk all about Houston. But look, if that wasn't the case, then they ultimately lost. So if you're going to be in that MVP conversation, you better be elite at what you're doing. Because, I mean, like I said, Luka Doncic, 28, 9, and 8. That's 8 assists. All right. He's going to be hovering around a triple-double every night. Scoring, getting rebounds, and getting other players involved. That's an MVP. That's somebody that's not only an MVP, but he could possibly put his team in a contendership conversation.
Exactly.
Bradley Beal is not one of those type of players. James Harden is just one of the best scorers we've ever seen. So ultimately, he put them in that conversation, you know?
And I think the focus of the league has changed a little bit too over, I'd say maybe like the last 3-4 years, because I think maybe some years ago it would have been much easier just to look at points and been like, oh, that's the MVP because they put up good offensive numbers. But now, I mean, I think back to even Russell Westbrook when he won MVP based on averaging that triple-double, which hadn't been done since Oscar. And so now we have, I think, like I said, over the last several years, more focus on these other stats versus just how many points are you putting up or what you are offensively.
Yes, but I look at overall impact when I'm talking about an MVP, like I said, with Luka, LeBron, and those guys. When you're talking about the past, whatever, year 2020, so we're talking about the last 15 years, everybody that's been an MVP or in the MVP conversation has stepped up in the other areas just scoring. Mm-hmm. And I think that's always how it's supposed to be, you know, not just scoring. And the guys that are just scorers have been exposed a lot of years in a row. Again, we're going to talk about James Harden soon. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Special thanks to Curtis Murphy and Murphy Elite Training for sponsoring this episode. If you want to stay up to date on merchandise or simply update your game, please click the link in the description to stay up to date on all things Murphy Elite Training. Until next time, you know the rules.